think we are. Yeah, you're alive. We're alive. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello, hello, hello. We're just waiting for people to stream in. Currently, how are you today, Eunice?
Good.
Just good. I guess
Yeah.
the weekend is a lazy weekend, Saturday. Oh well. Hmm.
There's a lot to things to work on, so it's not really a lazy
A lot of
Saturday.
fun. Anyway, shall we start?
Sure.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Say It With Love, where we explore everything about love, relationships, and personal growth. My name is Fred, and as always, I have with me here my amazing co host, Eunice.
Hey, everyone. Hi, everyone. Today's episode is crucial for parents, caregivers, and educators like us because we're diving into the understanding of child development from babies to teens. We'll look at how they develop in terms of cognitively, emotionally, and socially across the board, and how we can best nurture them at every stage.
Awesome. So I think here is the kicker. We'll also be talking about how to educate children in today's world. I think when we talk about children, it's not just about children below the age of 12, but we are also going into teenagers and even adolescents. Certainly beyond the age of 12, like 13 to 18, or even to 20 years old. That's the
Yeah,
teen and adolescents and youth.
pre-U age, I would say.
Pre-youth age, yeah. And because we're diving into understanding child development from toddlers to teens, we're looking at the cognitive development, emotional development, and social development, and how we can actually nurture children at every stage. Now, I'm an educator, but also I have a psychology background. So talking about developmental stages is something which I used to study, but also it's all coming back to me right now as we're discussing on this topic. So this is this is a world that we live in. It's driven by technology and instant gratification. So children who are living in today's world, and that includes the pandemic babies, those who are born in a year like 2010 or 2020. I'm not sure because right now, if those who are born in the year 2020, um, they're probably about 4 years old right now. They're starting to walk, and they are starting to utter a couple of words and do some complicated puzzles, moving on to the age of 5 before they go into, the pre-primary period. So
Yes.
yeah, it's pretty fast, time flies.
Yeah, the very concerning part of it is
Yeah.
because, myself as a social intelligence educator right now, I do see that children these days are just different. The new generation is so different, as we call them the Gen Z or the Gen Alpha. And because we are currently in the era of technology and instant gratification. So the more it is more challenging these days for us as parents as well to parent them because their learning experience are so much more different than what it was for us back in our generation. Yeah, let's start looking at how we are looking at instant gratification. What is instant gratification to you, Fred?
Hmm. It's like cooking instant noodles. But of
Uh-huh.
course, we're talking about it's not just instant noodles, but of course, instant gratification is like when you press a button, or not a button anymore. When you tap on your phone, something pops up, like the app just pops up. That is
Mhm.
something like instant gratification. Like you get something instantly right at your fingertips. That is
Yes.
what we call instant gratification. Because if you cook instant noodles, it's going to be like 1 minute or so, and for us, I mean, 1 minute these days are like 1 hour.
Yeah.
Do you agree that?
Yes, the thing is why we have evolved this way, right, in terms of humanity to
Exactly.
this point of time is because time is the most valuable resource that we have in life because as time goes by, we can't go back in time. And therefore, I think even for kids, they find that, there's a need, there's an urgency of it, that they need to see immediate result. So if you click on a button, it should have an outcome, immediate outcome, immediate result. What is that click of button going to produce? So that is why instant gratification is there. However, because everything is so just a click away now, whether for entertainment, whether for answers, because we have chat gpt, any ai tool, whatnot, right?
Yep.
It's so much more harder and more challenging for parents or educators to foster one thing, um, patience
Mhm.
and deep critical thinking. So this is something, yeah, we want to look into today.
I think it's when we speak about instant gratification, it somehow plays the role on it plays its role in the child's development. I mean, cognitive development, which is called brain development in short. It's
Yep.
like how it changes the way a child think and explore and also understand the world around him or her. I think because in today's era of instant gratification, I think the kids are just clicking away, tapping away, and and if you want to talk about deep thinking and fostering patience, it's going to be quite a challenge, isn't it? Because I'm not sure about you, but what are some of the challenges with you in terms of bringing up your kids, and also the fact that they are still living in the age of digitalization, also iPads and
Yeah, I
iPhones
mean,
and all that, what have you.
previously back in 2010, that's
Yeah.
when my firstborn, that's when he came around. Back then, I think it was not so rampant yet because even as an IT engineer, I mean, just because I was an IT engineer, project manager back then,
Mhm.
I knew the effect of technology. So I always have my own tech detox time. So for me, it's actually spending more time with my child back then on arts and crafts, on finger work, finger work. I mean, it's like puzzles, Legos, building blocks, and all that. He used to enjoy those things, and even flashcards and reading books. Those are very manual thing. However, the fact is, um, we ran out of time. I ran out of time because back then I used to run a kindergarten myself. So yeah, so that was nature of my job. So I could do more for him because it was part of my job. And when I have my off days, I just take it literally as like one-to-one education for him. Therefore, he's doing very well academically. However, there's a lot more things for him to develop right now. Now he is a teenager.
Hmm.
Now, what I see the difference was that when he was literally, I think he was 7 month old, in 2011 back then,
Yeah.
um, he was taking my phone and he was pointing like he wasn't really talking. He was a bit delayed in his speech as well. But the first thing that he's trying to tell me is like, he's trying to give me the gestures like, "Mommy, give me the pin so that I can go into your phone. So that I can unlock your phone." That's literally what he was telling me. And of course, in the eyes of other adults, it's like, "Ooh, this boy has your genes, right?" Because yeah, I was in IT. Um, However, it wasn't something to be proud of for me, at least at that time, because I feel that it was too early to expose him to gadgets, and
Mhm.
also it's not healthy for them to do that.
Mhm.
um, So I did limit that. However, because at that point I was working, so on weekdays he will be at home. He has plenty of screen time after school, which unfortunately is just part of, grandparenting. The way things are being done back then. All right. So I'm grateful for for my parents to have parented him when I wasn't around. However, that was some choices we have to make if we can. Um, Toddlers from 1 to 3 years old, I would definitely suggest that parents do not give them this so much of the screen time. Firstly, is because of the blue light, the radiation, and they're
Yeah,
still developing. And also the thing is the time when they actually explore the world around them, right? When they develop
yeah,
better eyesight and a senses of touch and all that. So it's best that we actually gave them things to manipulate with their hands, to have better motor skills, whether it's fine motor skills or the gross motor skills, right? Like block, sand, water play. These activities will definitely help them to build better skills, like problem solving, more
yeah.
focus, and also creativity. Because what I used to do is that I used to collect recycled stuff so that we can think of things to make out of them. Yeah, so he will give me ideas like, oh, so what do you think this cardboard looks like? What do you think this toilet roll looks like? Let's make something out of it. And we made little cars, we made little buses, we milk from milk cartons and things like that. So rather than instant digital stimulation, we actually go back to the basics and do a lot of more of motor skills related, yeah,
That's
work.
awesome.
Mm.
That's awesome, and absolutely, I absolutely agree with what you said. At the same time, do you know that there is this fun fact? This fun fact about blue lights. Do you know that blue lights from the phones and iPads and all the devices makes you older? It makes
Oh,
you look older. So when you're exposing these kids, these teens to blue light, guess what? They're gonna look older than they are. And for some of these teens, right, when they're like 13 years old, they look like they're 20.
yeah, that is something that has been highlighted actually. Like,
Yeah,
they did a comparison between the Gen X, which Gen X and Gen Y
look at
versus
me.
Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They are asking, they are literally asking
Yeah.
us, I mean, from that generation,
Mhm.
how are you much younger than you look? I don't know. I have no idea. I wonder why. I believe it has a lot to do, definitely,
The blue
with
lights.
lifestyle. The blue light could be one of them. Of
Yeah.
course, when it comes to instant gratification, because
Hmm.
the kids these days, they don't have the time of the day to wait. They don't have patience, unfortunately. So, majority of them, at least, um, they just want immediate outcome of everything. So that's why some of the kids resorted to um, aggressiveness, um, and a lot of them I find that they are kinesthetic learners, which means they were not stimulated enough in a way physically when they were younger. That's why right now the only thing that really stimulate them is the phone. They're so
Yeah.
used. It is like a daily habits that they have these gadgets with them, and that's why they are so into them. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not like a perfect parent. My children, as much as I want to remove them from the influence of gadgets, they are still influenced by it. Unfortunately, so. But as they were growing up, if we can help them to regulate or self regulate, which is even better, um, in a way that we introduce them to self regulation and self control at early years, they are more likely to be able to, not abuse or overuse gadgets. They know, like, oh, I need to do certain things that I need to do first before I do what I want to do within certain parameters. Yeah, I know every parent or every teacher in school that have the access to gadgets do have challenges like myself when it comes to gadgets. So the only way for us as educator is be creative in engaging them, and trying to think out of the box how we can actually uh, keep them in focus and help them to regulate it. So every time I go into the class, that's one thing that I will always start with. So I'm giving the choices to my students whether they want to regulate themselves or a choice for me to help them to regulate. So yeah, which means I have the choice. I give them a choice that I can help them to remove distractions rather than telling them what to do, so
Yeah.
that they can also have a way to think about solutions. Yeah, I mean, these are things that we can implement. So we were talking about the children, toddlers,
Brain
preschoolers,
development.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So brain
yes.
development for toddlers and then preschoolers,
Mm,
which is like 3 to 5 years old for
mm,
preschoolers. And of course, when we're talking about preschoolers, the brain development is like they are developing cognitively at a time. So early education apps and educational games are cool. But of course, you gotta take the time off them for the gadgets and the devices because they still need to, go to somewhere like the park or somewhere that they can have some time doing the drawing and the painting or building materials like Lego bricks and all that. I'm not too sure about Lego bricks, but because Lego bricks are small, so it might be a little bit dangerous. But of course, when we're talking about building cognitive skills and abilities like motor skills and all that, maybe you can expose them to music at a very early age. Who knows? They might be able to play a musical instrument or something like that. That'd be a great skill to have in the long run. It's critical in today's fast-paced world, but of course, in this world, we need music, right? In this world, we need art, we need music, we
mm.
need entertainment. So if you want to
Yeah.
groom an entertainer from a young age, you can. Just saying, because we're digitalized. As much as we're digitalized, I do not hope that digitalization will take over like most of. I mean, I just hope that it will not take over all of humanity, but at least
Mm.
give some space for other things to breathe,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be quite sad if I mean I just feel it's gonna be quite sad if everyone is digitalized. Like we're gonna have robots and we're gonna have robotic relationships, which
Mm.
is coming.
No, it's
That-
ongoing. It's not coming.
yeah, tell me about it. It's kind of sad. I mean, we have AI girlfriend and boyfriends now, so
Yes, exactly. So that you can avoid having a more human, I think, complex human relationships. That's what I see people are trying to avoid it. So therefore, it's so much more easier to program something that will always fulfill your requirements because that is programmable.
mm,
Not like human, where we it is so much more in so much more to it's hard to guess. It's a lot of guesswork there
mm,
and observation, where observation skill is slowly diminishing as well. Right. So yeah, as you were talking about Lego bricks, there are bigger version and they even have a gigantic version where they
oh,
build it like houses. Yeah, yeah, they do. And
cool.
indoor playground. So those are the options that we it could be better for 3 to 5 in their preschool years,
Yeah.
because these will help them to develop further into uh, the ability to have that patience, to have that empathy, to have the the skills to help with delayed gratification. It
More of
is.
soft skills, I would say, because for preschoolers, when you teach them soft skills like empathy, like what you mentioned, empathy
Mm,
and the fact that you got to encourage delayed gratification. This is a very very good age to start,
mm,
because if once they move to the age of like 6 to 12 years, that's the elementary stage where they go to primary schools. That's where they got to learn something more like value or persistence, because they're going to study, they're going to be in the primary schools, and therefore they are going to be exposed um, to more social dynamics around them.
yeah.
So when you're talking about empathy and all that, it's always good to expose them early, so that when they reach the age of going to elementary schools, that's where they encounter new friends, and how to
Mm,
deal with new friends, and how to deal with people who are difficult, who are challenging. It's going to reflect a lot on how they are being brought up at the age of between 3 to 5 years old.
yes.
Yeah, and by teaching them early on the soft skills, moving on to the harder skills, and also things like principles, values, patience, determinations, motivation. It's all going to start from 6 to 12 years old. And this is the period of time when they are developing faster and faster, because you are exposing them to the outside world, and the challenges that's going to come from the outside world is going to affect them greatly, I feel. And therefore, this is the age where they are going to read more books, they're going to go through experiments like science experiments, they're going to tackle things like projects with other kids. So it's going to take a lot of time and effort to really teach them the soft skills later on as they grow up, towards
Mm.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pandemic has changed a lot of the social setting, unfortunately, when it happened, because we had been quarantined at home and the social setting has been very different. So, every child to reach out to the world, it has to be digital back then, right? We were not allowed to go out from our
Yeah.
houses. The social setting, the social landscape has changed ever since, and unfortunately so, because back then, if those were the babies that were schooling in preschool and or primary school at that moment, which are elementary school kids at that time,
Yeah.
they actually have been stopped from developing the normal way, socially at least. Therefore, they find it a bit harder to adjust, or they actually have a bit of delayed in terms of development, cognitively and socially back then. So these are the things that we need to put back into the learning system now, so that they can catch up with what they missed.
Hmm.
And I can say why it has affected them so much is because when they were much younger, the social setting is just family. It's just daddy, mommy, and the family. Where they are there, it's always safe for them to be who they are.
Yeah.
Now, as they go into school, they have a bigger social setting. So, bigger social setting is not so receptive.
Hmm.
Not, they don't accept you for who you are as much as your parents would do, not so forgiving. So they would need to learn the social skills to adapt and to to rise from all the situations and scenarios given in the social setting. That's why you see that some children fare very well at home. They can
Hmm.
behave very well at home, but yet when they go to school, either they get bullied or they end up being the bully, is because they have a hard time navigating through the different social setting. And of course, they also, they have to familiarize with the adults that they are not familiar with, like teachers, like
Yep.
especially new teachers, and they will try to push boundaries with the teachers to see how far they can trust the teacher and how far the teacher is going to support them. But given that school setting is all totally different, because a school setting is a teacher will have to take care of numerous kids. So they wouldn't have that one-to-one attention anymore, one to two, the small group attention. It's going to be a bigger group.
Yeah.
So they will have this sense of self where they think they are still at the center stage. They are
Yeah.
still the star of their show.
You know what? All the more they need to know how to appreciate delayed gratification. They need to manage that and appreciate that, because if they are still struggling with delayed gratification, that means you have not groomed them up when they are in the preschooling stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so that is the case with the children these days because I know parents sometimes tired from work because of the
Yeah.
right now the economical and economic landscape and the
Situation.
demand that we have in the
Yeah.
workplace. It is really tiring sometimes for parents to go home and continue to educate the children, or do certain
Yeah.
activities with them. That's why gadgets has become a parenting tool, and it's an escapade for everyone. So therefore, it's so important that we make dinner time with no gadget, or we
Mhm.
make certain period of time. It's purely just no gadget period, so that the bonding and social interaction continue to happen, and the children feel bonded and cared for. I do have a few students, constantly telling me my parents have no time for me. I got everything in my life, but I'm not
Mhm.
happy teacher because
Yeah.
all they want is actually the very quality time they can get from their parents. And yeah, of course, as much as I want to tell them your parents are working really hard so that you can be in the school, they are trying to get more resources. But at the end of the day, children really wants the companionship. They want
Mhm.
the quality time with their parents,
Yeah.
to feel cared and loved. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the
Agree.
thing. Hmm.
And it's a downward spiral, or should I say, it's a vicious cycle. In fact, because we are having a shrinking workforce because children aren't being produced at the normal rate we used to have. Because in some
Mm.
countries, it's gonna be like 0.1 or 0.5 kids per year, kind of thing. It's
Oh
like
God.
it's like lesser and lesser people are producing kids because they have better things to do. They have other businesses to run. They have a lot of things to do at work, and the higher you climb in the corporate ladder, the more responsibilities you're going to take on, and with more responsibilities, more time is going to be taken away from you, from your family, and from your personal time, and therefore it's going to result in you producing less kids. I
Mm.
thought that is the case, and because with lesser time on hand, some parents would have to become iPad parents by doing
Yes.
distracting the children with iPads, and so that they grow up with these devices, and it's all rolling. It's a rolling avalanche, I would say. I'm not too sure if I use the word avalanche because it's gonna crash somehow.
Uh,
Um,
yes. If you actually remember a scene in Ewall,
yeah,
Wally or Ewall,
Wall-E.
Wally, yeah, Wally.
2006 movies. I mean, some of these people aren't born yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually showed this to some of my students. They were like, "So our future is gonna look like that." I
It's a
said,
prediction.
"Well, if you don't change your perception about convenience and instant gratification, unfortunately, yes, it may evolve into everything is being done by robot, and you have to do nothing other than just sitting down and enjoy life, where we
Go back.
go totally obese, and we didn't even have access to real nature anymore. It's like nature to us is simply anything digitalized, so everything is robotic, everything is um, that's lesser humanity needs in terms of social skills, right?
Yeah.
So
And this
yeah.
will eventually change when they move into the teenage years, because when they move into teenage years, if they don't learn delayed gratification, guess what happens? They are not going to find love easily. And their form of relationship, going into relationship, is going to be so different. It's going to be taken over by whatever that they're exposed to in their earlier years. Like, for example, everything needs patience. Love is patience. Love needs patience to blossom. You got to
Mm-mm.
wait for your love to blossom, right? So at the age of 18, for example, you're still a teenager, like 18 to 19 years old, you're still a teenager. But by that time, you're finding love. You're finding love in other people, in your soulmate, in your significant other, whom you are going to build on that relationship in order to get married next time, or in order to get into a deeper form of relationship next time. And what's more important than to have that kind of foundation, that delayed gratification is important, in a sense it will help you in, moving and, you know making that relationship work, because
Mm.
relationship don't happen overnight.
Mm.
It doesn't happen overnight. And when you're talking about instant gratification, like a tap of a button, yeah, sure, you can get your AI girlfriend and your AI boyfriend or gay friend or whatever. I'm sorry I said the word gay, but don't cancel me. But that's how we of the earlier generations talk. All right, so that's our lingo. But then the thing is, if you're talking about love, it needs patience to build. If you're talking about relationship, it needs time to blossom.
Yeah, that's why now a lot of teens they ended up in situationships instead of relationships.
Yep.
And if something doesn't work out, it's just out of the door, because you can constantly move on to the next and the next and the next. The thing about building relationship is a journey of finding love, or understanding love itself, and gain some wisdom from that relationship to how we can sustain it and so forth. But people these days, I mean, especially students that I know that they are in relationships, and some of them not maintaining it, is because they don't really understand what they want yet at this age. Because at the age of 13 to 18, it's a lot about our peers. It's a lot about peer pressure,
Yep.
as what is cool, because I want to fit in to certain group of people. I
Hmm.
want to do certain things that are being deemed as cool. I don't want to be called out as the nerd, the one that is weird. I don't want to be the weird one out, and I don't want to be left out. So that is where they are pressured to do certain things based on the environment that they are in. Like, say if everyone is having a boyfriend, girlfriend, in or having a situationships, that's what they ended up being in, because that's how the social setting is
You know,
for
one
them.
solution, sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt, but one solution to that kind of problem, that kind of issue, is that of identity. When you're talking about identity crisis and identity issue in the teens, a lot of it's got to do with the earlier stages of development. So if
Mm,
they do not develop a strong bond and identity with the parents and the household they're in, when they go into the outside world, when they are mixing with other people, they are going to face peer pressure, and the peer pressure will overcome them, will overwhelm them with pressure, and of course many other stresses as well, because they don't have that identity. And if they
mm,
hold firmly to that identity when they're younger, and when they grow older, they might face a little bit of a, decision making there and then, like, okay, this is a transition. But with a strong bond with a family, with the fact that they are bonded with their family, whether they are outside or not, it's not going to change the way they perceive themselves and their family. So the fact
mm,
that they are facing a lot of peer pressure outside is because they don't build strong bonds with their family members or their parents or people who are, caring towards them. Um,
mm,
you know, I know it's a transition, but had they built a better firm foundation with the parents or with the caregivers, they are going to go back to the caregivers no matter what
Mm.
happens outside. So there is a trust and reliable source at home to go back to. So if they are facing challenges outside, like they are asking themselves, who am I? Why am I with this group? Or why is this group trying to get me into their group? Kind of thing. They can actually go back to their parents. They can go back to their caregivers or whoever is who's giving them love, care, and support and shelter to begin with, because they feel that they need to have that refuge. They need to have that place to call home, that place to call a sense of belonging. Because if they don't have that sense of belonging, they go out and they mix with other people. They're going to find that source of belonging over there, and that's where they messed up.
Yeah, well, this is the thing about current situations. Not every home is a conducive environment for
Every
growth.
family is dysfunctional.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And the more we actually look into them, the more dysfunctional families we actually find. If we really have the data to show it. And because whenever I go into managing certain classroom behavior, I notice that those with those students that are more outstanding than the rest, they come from a difficult background. I wouldn't say difficult. I wouldn't say it's dysfunctional. I
Challenging.
would say at least they have certain family problems,
Hmm.
and the child is trying to navigate it through that situations by seeking more attention outside of home and behaving in certain ways so that they get attention from their classmates as well, from other people, not just teachers, but also their peers. So that, but they don't know how to truly express themselves in that sense because at this juncture, at this age group, they are still very much they are exploring their identity because they are going through the phase of changing into teenager puberty, right? They are having so much changes, not just physically, emotionally, and also mentally at this phase. So there's a lot of confusion there, given that now even worse because social media is there. There are so many influencers out there claiming to be the best influencer for the kids when they are not. And some influencers are literally challenging their audience to do weird stuff or stupid stuff, even. And these kids, being vulnerable, thinking those things are cool, and doing those or saying certain things are cool, you know?
Yeah.
So that is the how social media and technology changed the entire social landscape is that children are now being influenced by some not so appropriate contents or not so appropriate influences, I would say. That's why the more in education line as educator or as parents, we have to be aware of the kind of content they consume and also the capability to have that critical thinking to define what is true, what is not true. So that is the skill set we encourage students to do their own part of research to find out whether certain things are true or not true. Not everything you see on social media is something that you should adopt. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. That's really very true. And I absolutely agree to that. And yeah, and as we're talking about cognitive development, we're also talking about emotional and social development as well. So we get it. I mean, for teenagers, it's going to be a huge transition. It's like a upward slope in the learning curve in dealing with people, in dealing with outsiders outside of the family. And so I think this is a stage where they're learning new skills and working towards a career um, of their own. And this is a time where they don't just learn about persistence, they are building resilience. And because if they don't have that resilient foundation there, they are going to crash, and that's where depression will set in. That's where you have a lot of mental issues setting in for them. And it's very good. I mean, it's very important for caregivers to kind of like provide a kind of support for them, even
Mhm.
though there is a moderation in terms of how much support you give, because
Yeah.
if they are not allowed to fail, then if they are not exposed to failure earlier on in life, they're going to have it very tough when they grow into an adult. We call that adulting. And when they become an adult, it's going to be quite hard for them to adapt to society as a whole, because as an adult, we are faced with more responsibilities and more opportunities. But if you're not encountering failure earlier in life, it's going to be very difficult for someone to survive out there, in terms of
Absolutely.
being a resilient adult, to wait it out, to live to fight another day, and it's never a quick fix. It's never a quick fix, and these
Mm.
teenagers have to know that some things aren't quick fixes. There's no such
Oh,
thing as fast money. There's no such thing as quick fix to a particular problem. Some problems
mm.
takes months and sometimes years to solve and resolve. And that's with relationships as well. I mean, some relationship takes years to build trust, and that's the
Yes.
fact. That's the fact of life. It's not about gadgets, because gadgets can be instant, but relationships, people, are different.
Yes, it is. Well, we are already 41 minutes into the
Yeah,
podcast. I think
that's
we
awesome.
only covered pretty much the cognitive development. We are going to talk more about emotional development in the next episode. So that we just want to discuss about it openly, because I think this is a very at how the social setting is right now. It's quite concerning for me as an educator how it has been.
Mhm.
But of course, right now, what we're creating here is awareness so that we can work with what we have. And we want to balance out the usage of technology as a tool versus letting it really take over the social landscape or the education landscape for our children. We can use it to help us to level up the engagement for students, to to make learning more fun, definitely. But at the same time, we want to expose them to real learning, which is more about emotional growth, personal growth, and social skills that are lifelong learning skills that they can take away with them, not just after they graduate from school. It's for lifelong, and that will help them to thrive in future as a person, not just as a student.
Yep. And of course, with that said, thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode of our podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insight so far on, how to tailor your teaching approach to children of different age groups. Certainly, this takes more time than we think,
It
and this
is.
podcast is taking more time than we imagined. But there are a couple more parts to go on this series that we're working on, and we'll be back. So if you enjoyed this episode, please, please, please subscribe and share and leave your comments down below. It's free of charge, and you don't have to do it, but it will certainly be cooler if you did. And it's free of charge. It will help us lots and help us a ton. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences you may have around this topic as well. Feel free to share. If you have any questions or you want to share your experiences with us, we'll be delighted to hear them from you. And please feel free to reach out to us as well by email at fredandeunis@gmail.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our individual TikToks at Learn English with Fred and A New Teacher's Diary. So we're here to support you on your parenting and educational journey. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll catch you in the next episode. Till then, keep fostering growth and creativity in these young minds around you. And also, don't forget to say it with love.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye